got Bob Chapman coming up at the bottom of the next hour to give us economic update on what's happening. Alan Watt going to come on and give us his view of this whole fear-mongering psyop. And then Niles Harrod, one of the nanothermite experts, exposing the fact that that was found in the WTC rubble. More and more peer-reviewed scientific reports coming out. They had one of the heads of the 9/11 Commission come out a month ago and say that they staged a meeting before the event, before the commission, with the military to lie about the stand-down. That's now mainstream news. This stuff is all unraveling. Dr. Horowitz, there's these whole classes, as you know, but I want you to tell the listeners about them, of new vaccines that, quote, cure mental illness. They go in and attack certain areas of the brain. It's like programmed nanotech viruses is how I would describe it. And they go in and they eat the receptor sites for nicotine and heroin and cocaine. And folks don't believe me, just Google new vaccine to cure drug addiction. But then other scientists went, wait a minute, you won't be able to be happy anymore. Those receptors are for natural endorphins. And, what you would say would be spirituality. I mean, when you talk about wanting to control our souls, this is the next wave, isn't it?
Oh, that's exactly what Genito Pharmaceuticals is all about, Alex. It's the whole concept of vaccination, intoxication for population manipulation and decimation is really where the future of medicine they're heralding lies. And so it becomes literally a battle of nature versus laboratory. And I'm personally choosing, and I don't know too many people in my circle, my friends, my community, that feels like we want to give all of nature over to the manipulators. I think it's a hideous reality that we're looking at, and if you look at the true science, it's not science that they're giving us, in fact. It's actually pseudoscience. There's nothing scientific about their proposition that this flu just happened to naturally land up in Mexico, where suddenly, there's never been anything like it in history. How did that happen? And I also question what they're reporting at the World Health Organization, which is really, if you study deeply, the Rockefeller disease surveillance system. It was set up by the Rockefellers. Now, if people in the United States don't realize they're already working if they're dealing with Rockefellers, they're working with traitors against the United States. That happened during World War II, and history repeats itself when you don't learn history. So literally America is being taken out now with a globalist agenda, and at the forefront of biomedicine and genetics and eugenics and vaccination policy and this whole disease surveillance at the World Health Organization. Study it. The origin of it is the Rockefeller International Global Disease Surveillance System. I wrote about that in the book Emerging Viruses, AIDS, and Ebola.
Well, you're absolutely right. In fact, we have all these medical doctors and scientists and historians on from wide-ranging fields, and they all come back to the same thing. The Rockefellers learned that most cancer was viral. They learned how to put it in the vaccines. They've caught vaccine makers hundreds of times, as you know, being caught doing it. And they think they're God with the GMO crops, with the vaccines, with all of it. What are they going to do as the world refuses to go along with them? They're going to stage pandemics in an attempt to scare us into going under their control.
That's exactly right. So really it is a holy war. It's a war against, not flesh and blood with whom we do battle. It's a spiritual warfare, and when you understand what genetics really is, it's water science. What makes DNA actually operate is the water molecules, the structured water within the genetic strand and around it forming a matrix that receives and transmits light and sound signals. So it's bio-spiritual or bioenergetic processing. It's a virtual antenna to the Creator. And if you don't believe me, read the brilliant research that's already come out that the authorities don't want you to see.
Well, that's why a lot of top atheist scientists are now saying there's something made this. We've seen all of these thousands of news reports over the years getting us ready for martial law, the police state. And now this is just one more step in that. But all over the news, the biggest stepping out we've ever seen. Oh, we're going to lock down your cities. We may have to lock down your towns. We're going to, we're going to give you orders. We're going to federalize things. The federal government doing all these unconstitutional things. We're going to forcibly inoculate you. Just conditioning people and conditioning the local police to go under federal control to carry this out. Now, are they going to do it this time? I don't know. Could this still be a deadly flu? It may be, but more and more it's looking like hype. What an amazing crime by the media. A few deaths in Mexico, 1 death in the U.S., hyping it, lying about it, saying it was 200, 150, then having to back off of that. Some numbers say 7, 9, 12. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Meanwhile, 300,000+ people die of bad drug interactions every year in the U.S. alone. That's the government's own admitted numbers. It's probably worse, Horowitz would tell you. Dr. Horowitz, plug some of your websites, some of the work you're doing, some of the events you've got coming up about getting folks together. But also, then I want to continue with, for the basics for people, what are you going to do if they try to forcibly inoculate you? What are you going to do if they come, try to lock down your town? And then how crazy is it while the border's still open? I mean, if they're really saying it's this deadly, why leave the border open but then lock your towns down?
Well, the solution is where I'm focusing. I believe we have a tremendous opportunity to help humanity maximally. Live H2O, Concert for the Living Water. It's coming up June 19th to the 21st internationally. I've been working for 2 years. That's why you haven't heard much about it or anything from me for about 2 years. But when this flu thing happened, I had to come out with something. But go to liveh2o.org. I've been taking a lot of heat when I put up that YouTube thing that's gone viral. I took a lot of heat for adding a little oxysilver blurb at the end of it. But you know what? I will do it again, because if people understood how simple healing is, healing, all of it, happens because of the energy and the bioenergetics coming out of water. Water science has the capacity now. We are advanced to the level of knowledge with really hard, wonderful science that shows how miraculous water can be used for virtually everything.
And the globalists know that. That's why they try to poison the water in their own government documents so that we're toxic and poison and can't think right. Then they make Dr. Strangelove movies, with making fun of us, where the mad general knows they want to mess with his precious bodily fluids. And so they are, trying to poison the fluids. But their own documents, people in labor camps, as you know, in Soviet Russia and Nazi Germany, they put fluoride in the water. That's in Pulitzer Prize-winning history books. I mean, this is real.
Exactly. Water is the solution. Universal solvent for all the pollution is water. And everything in the universe, all healing is piezoelectric chemical reaction, is based on electron flow, all the electrons from the universe. And pH, parts hydrogen, so important for body chemistry to resist infectious diseases. If the government was responsible, they would be giving people the simple truth, how to protect their body temples, how to resist all these infectious diseases. And the reality is all the hydrogen and pH parts hydrogen are delivering the element, the electron, which is the piezoelectricity of every universal energetic reaction. So hydrogen fuels can be used from water. Literally, hydrogen can be used to run our automobiles. We don't need petrochemical pollution. We don't need this intoxication. And likewise, oxysilver, the silver hydrosols. I will do it again. I will tell people always, please go simply do the research, because the truth shall set you free. You don't need to poison yourself. You don't need pop magic pills to cure every ill. You don't need to intoxicate yourself with vaccinations, with foreign RNA, DNA, and proteins from bacteria, virus, fungus, yeast, chicken embryo, bovine, fetal serum, monkey.
Stay there. We got a break. Final segment with Dr. Lynn Horowitz. Our sites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Stay with us. I think the jig's up, Dr. Horowitz. Even if they release a real bioweapon in the future, or God forbid this one turns out to be bad, people are so untrusting and so informed now, on average, and more waking up to the system and just how cold-blooded these elitists are, that I don't see them being successful in carrying this out. And I think they're starting to realize the tide has turned against them.
Well, I pray that that's the case, and we're going to continue to do everything in our power, as long as we breathe, to help people wake up and to protect life, protect our sanctity, our sovereignty, our children, our generations, future generations. It's got to end. And again, I have a wonderful plan. By the grace of the Creator, I've been so blessed. And people should go to www.liveh2o.org. Concert for the Living Water, this coming June 19th to the 21st. Friday is a day about educating from the world's leading experts in the field of water, water science, how we can eliminate all the petrochemical pollution and waste, and the toxicity from the vaccinations and antibiotics through the silver hydrosols such as oxysilver. All of the wonderful things that we can do with water through music and sound, and understanding that water and literally who we are as human beings are vibrating, resonating, and the DNA is actually activating it. And that's the primary function of DNA that they don't want to tell you about because they're making money off of humanity's suffering. That's called genocide.
I've only got one or two other questions. I'm going to let you go. We'll get an update next week from you, Dr. Horowitz. We appreciate all your time.